Hey everybody, this is Flavio Romeo, and on this episode of the Towncast, we had the opportunity of talking to Dan DeLuca. Dan is a writer, an actor, a producer, and now he just released his brand new novel. And Dan shares his story of growing up in Pisa, moving to the U.S. to go to school here, and then actually starring in my very first film that came out in the late 90s. All right, enjoy the episode, everybody. All right, everybody. So I'm really excited about this episode because it's a guy that I've known for 25 years. It was like my first film that I've ever made was with our next guest, and watching him just grow in the industry and write his own scripts, produce his own films has just been so excited for me. And now he's published his first book. So I am very happy to bring in Dan DeLuca. Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. And as always, it's great to see you.
I know I couldn't believe it. And so everybody knows. So you can see A Bad Thing Gone Worse, which has gone through, I don't know how many name changes.
I think maybe five.
Yeah.
Maybe five. It's always some iteration that comes out, and I'm like, oh, new name.
I know. And then it's funny because it's on Tubi now. It's called Blindsided.
Right.
And it's like new release, Blindsided. So it comes up on our IMDb page as if we just made it like
Right.
6 or 7 years ago.
And it was 20 something years ago.
You look the same. You look at me and I'm like,
no, you look exactly the same. The hair's white. Okay, mine is colored because I did a film 2 weeks ago. So I had to dye my hair, but it's gray on the sides.
I know. I say that when it comes to weight. It's like, wow, you got heavier. It was for a role.
It was for a role, yes. This is for a role.
I didn't get the role yet, but I'm prepping for it. So that's my weight loss and my weight gain has something to do with some role.
So I'll have to use that one. Right now, I'm just using the hair.
Yeah, that's it. It's if you put on a little weight, oh yeah, no, I'm rehearsing for a role.
Yeah, Dan, you're looking older. Well, it's for a role.
Exactly. When the gray comes back.
Right.
So Dan DeLuca. So I love your story. You were born in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, New York.
And you were, obviously you don't remember it because how old were you when you left?
I was 9 months old when I left. Well, I didn't personally pack up and leave. My family did, of course. You see me there with a little suitcase.
We're advanced.
Yeah. No, so my parents moved back to Italy, and it's kind of a family kind of story where my dad's brother was living there with his wife, and she passed, and he had 2 young kids, and so my dad and mom packed up and moved over there to help out. So yeah, we ended up going back to Italy. I grew up in Pisa. I'm originally Sicilian origin, but I'm a terrible Sicilian because I know about 5 words in Sicilian. If anybody doesn't know, Sicilian is a totally different language. Don't let anybody tell you different. It is.
100%. I mean, I used to listen to my father, who was from Santa Croce, Camerina, from the southern part. And, we'd be talking Italian, and he'd get on the phone. I couldn't understand a word he's saying.
Exactly. I was in Sicily with my dad some years back, and my dad tells my brother, get out of the car and ask that guy where the hotel we're staying is, how to find this hotel. My brother gets out, he goes to talk to this old man. He turns around and looks at my dad and he goes, because he didn't understand a word he said. And it would be time after time we would have to tell him, no, you have to speak to us in Italian. We don't understand Sicilian. And eventually they would see like the deer in the headlights look. You're like, oh, I got to talk Italian to them. They don't understand Sicilian. My dad just had a ball laughing at us because of that, because, he spoke fluent Sicilian, although he never spoke Sicilian to us. It was always Italian.
Yeah.
But my grandfather every once in a while would speak Sicilian to us. So that's how I learned a few words in Sicilian, but not much.
I learned, I didn't realize, I always thought my parents didn't curse until I got old enough to understand what the Sicilian curses were. And then I was like, that's all my dad did.
Oh, yeah, Chris.
That's
I'm
it.
sure Minkia came out at some time, at some
Many,
point.
many times, many for very a variety of reasons.
Right, right.
What part of Sicily was your dad from?
So near Catania, there's actually a little town called Giarre, where my grandmother was from. My dad is from Cesaro, which is a little bit farther away. So his family's from there. So probably about 20 minutes out of Catania.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Catania is where the airport's there, and
Yeah, there's an airport there, but there's also, Palermo on the other side. They have the airport.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Ferry.
we were there just, was it last November? Yeah, last November we went there for a week because I wanted to take the boys to see where their family's from. Right?
Right, right.
So I took them for a week in Sicily. We kind of made the loop because we do have family on my mom's side from Messina, from that area there, Syracuse, all over. So all over Sicily.
And I always thought with your name De Luca, you were from Luca.
Well, that's the origin of the family. So the
Okay.
the family lore story goes, there was a general from the city of Luca that was granted land near Cesaro, and so that's how the family came down there.
Nice.
Yeah, so
So,
that's the
so
name
you
De
grew
Luca.
up there, and
Yes,
you came here when you were 18,
18. Yeah,
and you came
18.
for school.
Yes, university. I came from university. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to University of Kansas, of all places. My oldest brother, was going to the Art Institute in Kansas City, where Walt Disney went to school. So he wanted to go there. So we kind of, the rest of the brothers kind of followed him out that area. I ended up graduating though from Southeast Missouri State because my fiance, my girlfriend, now wife, was going to school there, and so I ended up, following my heart and was smart enough to do so, and
You did good.
ended up. I got a master's degree in business, and did the whole college thing, and yeah, that's had kids, the whole deal.
Yeah, I love seeing pictures. I do follow you, and I like seeing pictures of your goings on. And Ken Arnold, of course, now is your profile picture.
Yes, my good friend Ken. He's a good
Yeah, so
guy.
let's talk about your journey because here you are. You went University of Kansas, and then graduated. How did you get involved in filmmaking, acting, performing?
So, it goes back again, back to Italy. My mom and dad did a lot of stage when I was a kid growing up. So, basically I was there every time they were doing rehearsals, sitting in the audience, watching them. And then my dad did a movie called Which Way Do You Dig, back in the early 70s. And I just kind of got, the bug even way back when. Um, didn't pursue it until I realized, hell, I don't want to do all this business stuff that I'm doing. I'm just bored with it. I was working for the government as a contracting officer, and it's like enough is enough. I quit and moved back to New York, where I met you, um, and started studying at Herbert Berghoff and Stella Adler, and was taking classes there. I said, if I'm going to be serious about it, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to study, and that's what I did. And then from there, I started writing as well. I always had a passion for telling stories, and so I started writing, and started working with a guy that hired me to help write a series for the History Channel, which was Mouthpiece, Voice of the Accused. It was a series on mob lawyers. Joe Constantino. A lot of people might know him, but he was a producer that did a lot of History Channel stuff. And so I worked with him, and then met other people and started writing other things, and then finally decided to move back to the area I'm in now, which is the DC metro area, because that's where my wife is. And I moved back here and started making short films and then bigger films, and started getting cast in stuff that was being filmed around here, and just kind of tried to do everything I could. in the industry, not just one thing. It's never good enough for me anyway, to just do one thing, because I feel like I'm not doing enough if I'm doing one thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
you're not a real doctor, but you did play one on television.
I did. I
Right?
did.
And everybody talks about when you ask many people, what some of the greatest modern day television shows are of the 21st century. The Wire always comes up,
Yeah, yeah.
and you
And,
were
and it
on
was.
you had a bunch of episodes that you did.
Yeah, I had a regular role in series four as Dr. David Parenti. The
Wait a
role
minute, you
was
played an
not
Italian?
he he Parenti was Italian, but it didn't start off that way.
Oh,
So
really?
the role had a Jewish last name, the professor, and then when they hired me, they decided to change it to an Italian. And I
Typecast.
can remember the first episode, one of the first episodes I'm in. I'm sitting there at my desk, and on the wall is basically my university kind of diploma, and it has, I forgot what the name was. It's, this Jewish name on there, last name, and I was like, "Hey, Seeth Mann was the man who was the director. Seeth Mann was the first director I worked with. Wonderful, wonderful director at NYU. And anyway, I said, "Hey, Seeth, yeah, that's not going to match, because now I'm Parenti, and up here, I don't remember the name of it, but specifically a Jewish name, and so they had to take that down." He's like, "Oh my God, thank you," and took that down, and went on from there. But yeah, so Parenti was based on a real character, a real university professor. I talked to David Simon quite a few times about it. He's the creator, and this was a real professor. I believe that his brother had, and so that was an amazing role. It was. I never knew, to be honest with you, I never knew when I first got the role if I was going to be in one episode or two or three or four. Ended up being 11 out of 13.
No.
So
You had almost the whole season.
yeah, the whole season. So I started in like episode two and then go through the end, or episode three and go through the end. And I would always take the script and look, do I get killed off? Do I get killed off? Do I get killed? Do I get fired? What's going on here?
Yeah,
And if I knew I wasn't fired, I'd be like, "Oh yes, one more
I,
day." So I got to tell you, it was one of the best jobs you could ever have. Working with those young actors. Of course, I was much younger at the time, but those kids were amazing. They were just amazing actors. They were a lot of fun. Working with Bob Wisdom, he was just the best to work with. Very giving as an actor, very very giving. And working with those writers, it's it's one of those things where you get on and you're never really sure what a director wants, right? So you've worked with directors that want like word for word what they've written, okay? And that's most common in stage, that in a play you have to do it word for word.
yeah.
Um, but working with the writers on The Wire, they would be like, "No, just get somewhere around, what we're saying, and if we don't
Right.
like
The
it,
feeling. It's a
yeah,
guideline.
what's comfortable for you within the context of the character." And I've taken that on myself. Stuff I've directed, I've learned from that, and I tell the actors, "What's comfortable for you? Just make sure we hit the points, and the character remains that character."
Yeah, because oftentimes when an actor embodies that character, sometimes the lines just don't fit what the character would say. And as a writer, they don't get that part of it.
Yeah,
So it's awesome when you can find a writer and a director that gives you that flexibility
absolutely.
to mold the character more within yourself.
And it's that nuance that comes through, I believe. I think on shows like Sopranos and The Wire, that nuance of realism. Of course, on The Wire, not half, but a lot of the actors were actual ex-criminals, ex-cons, ex-cops, that type of thing. And then those of us that were actors, they gave longer lines to, more dialogue, that type of thing. But it brought, a sense of realism to it, because you were dealing with people that weren't just going word for word out of the script. They were bringing their own interpretation to it. And I find that the best actors, will bring something to it. And when you're going and you're auditioning for something, that you should know that the directors want you to be the best. They want you to be great. They want you to have a character that you bring with you, even if it's the wrong character. They want you to have a character. And I always go back to, I was doing a play at Columbia University not long after I met you. And they were auditioning us, and my audition was a Shakespeare piece. It was literally from Oedipus, right? And I did that part, and they hired me. They called me back, and they hired me, but it was for literally an overweight New York postal worker. I'm like, how I don't even have a New York accent. How do you? And they were like, we saw what you could do, and we knew you could do it. So we knew that you had range. So we brought you in.
So
You'll figure it out.
all your weight.
No, I had a fat suit. I literally had a fat suit.
I'm a method actor. I have to put the weight on.
Yeah, no, it would have taken me years. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. But yeah, definitely that HBO series was just wonderful to work on, and the freedom to interpret the role as best you could. They were just great at that. They were great.
And that had to be kind of a foundation for you to, to start writing yourself. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but also as a writer, filmmaker, director, and actor, you could see it from both sides of the lens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm one of those guys that is annoying on set, because every time I would get on set from the very beginning, from the first short films that I did, from what's the sound guy doing? What does that mean? What lenses are you using and why? It was I just very interested in learning all of it, just because that's the way, I get to understand all of it, all of the filmmaking process. And so I learned a lot. And the number one thing that I learned from being on The Wire was get good actors.
Yeah, there you go.
Get good actors. Get good actors, because that really makes a huge. The writing has to be good. Obviously, a good actor can't save a bad script, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So get good actors.
Well, and you've done that in the past few films that I've seen, The Watchmen.
Yes.
Now, last year's Garden State Film Festival Best Film winner, Town Called Purgatory. Congratulations again.
Yes.
And you could see, I mean, it's you see it in a lot of movies. You certainly see it in a lot of Scorsese films. And when you find the right actors, you want to work with them all the time.
Yeah.
Because they save so much time.
They save so much time. They literally know how to they know how to pick up when you fall. They know how to pick things up and keep them going. And it's one of the things, I work with Kevin Jiggets and Ken Arnold.
Was a great name, by the way. I love his last name, Jiggets.
That's his real name.
Yeah,
but if you noticed in The Night Watchman, I use his name, Jiggets.
Yeah.
I originally wrote the script. I just put our names in there.
Right.
As placeholders, and we decided, screw it. We'll just keep the names.
Well, when I saw that, I thought you were making, I thought it was just, his stage name.
No. Yeah, that's Kevin's.
I looked it up. I'm like, wow, did he change his name for the character?
So and the beauty is, how far they can go. How good they are. You can give them meaty, heavy stuff, and you don't have to worry about it. It's always a crapshoot with new actors that you haven't worked with. But if you know people's work, you can tell. But sometimes you're going in blind. But with Kevin and Ken and some of the other actors I've worked with, and I would work with again, for instance, the woman that plays Anna in A Town Called Purgatory, she was just amazing, amazing. Again, a very giving actor, and you know what I mean by giving, being an actor. So I would definitely work with her again as well. The guy that plays the preacher on there, he did a great job. Jeff
So talk
Ricketts.
a little bit about the film. As I know, right now there's a lot of deals going on, and we know we're going to see it's going to be streaming sometime in
Yes.
the near future.
I keep asking my distributor, when are we going to see it? Where's it going?
Exactly. Well, if you're in Europe, you'll be able to see it soon.
Right. It's already being sold in Europe. So
So keep
yeah,
an
we've
eye
already
out for it
signed
because
some
we've got
deals.
we've got people that watch this in Denmark and Italy and Germany and France. So
Actually, I think believe Denmark was the first place we sold.
is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Denmark
I'm
was
gonna
the
have
first place
I'm
we
gonna have
sold.
to tell my
Yeah,
friends to keep an eye out for it.
yeah, yeah. Um, so um, do you want me to go into the film
Yeah, yeah.
or
Just talk a little bit about what a town called Purgatory is about.
so it started again like many films lately during COVID, right? I wanted to write something very small, very contained. And Ken, over the years, he had done a movie called The Marshal. And he said, let's do a horror Western. And so COVID hit. I needed a small movie, one location, very few actors. And it's also a challenge as a writer, right? To do something so contained.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to use the typical kind of zombies, vampires, werewolves type, stuff. So I kind of did some research on Indian lore and came up with the Skinwalker, which is kind of shapeshifter Indian lore. And the backstory to that is the Indians have shaman as their healers, and when a shaman, for lack of a better word, goes to the dark side, he becomes a skinwalker. And so anyway, the story developed around these characters, two guys that are hunting down this gang called the Reno Gang, which was a real gang. They were the first gang to rob a bank. To rob a railroad. First train robbery was done by the Reno Gang back in the late 1860s. And so these are based on real characters. All these characters are based on real characters, even though they don't follow any sort of anything true to life, but they are based on real characters. So I developed a story about this town that's empty. They walk into an empty town. And so there you go. I've solved my problem, right? Very few actors, one basic location, which is this empty town, and go from there and run with it. And that's the challenge I gave myself, and worked with Ken on it, going back and forth on how do we find that three-act structure? How does each one of these characters grow? What do we like and dislike about these characters? How do they change in the end? And then you have kind of some of the townies that show up in there, and so that's how this kind of Western developed.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's a Western. I mean, how many Western horror films are there? And
Yeah,
and the set location was amazing. Everything and I know where you filmed it. I mean, it's just everything.
Austria. It was in Austria.
And
Yeah.
you look at it, it's like this looks like it's 1800s
Yeah.
somewhere out west.
And a lot of that was restaged. So a lot of the signs and stuff. I mean, the set designers out there, they did a phenomenal job. Making it look even more period. Um, Now, when I walked on set for the first time, and especially when like I saw the church that was in there, it was everything that I had written down on the script. It was what I had imagined. Which was the beauty of it.
What a
It
feeling.
was like I fell into this is exactly what I had imagined with a tweak here and a tweak there. We are in the script, and it was kind of kismet,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
find that location.
So here, this was now you also wrote the Watchmen too, right?
Yeah, The Night Watchman I wrote
And
again
wow,
with Ken and Jamie Nash, who he's a writer, done a lot of stuff with Ed Sanchez, the Blair Witch director. He did Exists, and a bunch of other Lovely Molly, a bunch of other great films.
and
Ken and I wrote the script, and then we had him come in and help us kind of clean it up and add some punch to it. And did a great job. Jamie was fun to work with, and we still collaborate.
So
So
here you are, you're writing a bunch of scripts, and now you write your first novel.
yes, right
There
there,
it is, Hag,
right
Hag,
there,
and I had the opportunity of listening to it on Audible. You did a great job reading. I know I used to do books on tape for the blind,
right.
so I know how arduous it is
Oh God,
to get in there because people don't realize, every time you're reading or you're talking, you have to take a breath.
yep,
They don't like that. Producers don't like breathing.
yeah.
So they're like cutting out all the little individual
Oh yeah.
breaths when they can. So it's arduous. How long were you in the booth for?
Oh God, it feels like an eternity. I would sometimes um, I would never do a full chapter at a time.
It's too
Um,
much.
it's too much. Yeah, it was just exhausting
Yeah.
because I would screw up so many times, right? I mean, I was constant.
I want to hear
Even
that.
reading my own words, you know, you're kind of your own worst critic. You're like, I don't like the way that sounded. I didn't believe that. I didn't, you know.
Why did I write this?
Yeah, why did I write this? So it's I don't know how many hours it took me. It was just I wasn't even gonna kind of try and figure that out.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just kind of said, okay, I've got all chapter one here. Now let's go on to chapter two.
yeah.
Uh, weeks,
Well, let's
weeks.
talk a little bit about the story of Hag, and then we'll tell everybody where they can find it.
Yes. So Hag, as you can see right here, the Legend of Bloody Mary. So the the flow through our main antagonist is this kind of legendary figure of Bloody Mary, and this book kind of gives a little bit of history of who Bloody Mary is, where she comes from, and brings it into modern day. Now, Hag is the story of these two detectives. Um, uh, Luca Marchetti and Ken Walsh. If you don't recognize the names,
Yeah, wait a minute. Who are they named after?
so Ken Walsh is named after Ken Arnold, and Luca Marchetti is I always go by Luca in my films. So it's named after us, and again, it's for those same reasons of the character's already made, right? You already know this character. You already know who that person is. You already know how they're going to act and react. And so it already comes with you. It's already packaged. And as a writer, you just steal from that. It's kind of like cheating, but not. So anyway, they start seeing there's some murders that start happening from the beginning of the movie, and they start uncovering, well, what the hell is going on, and little by little they realize that it's more than just a serial killer out there that is hacking up bodies and having ritualistic dismembering and stuff like that. And some of the people close to them get murdered, and they kind of try and get one step ahead of this killer. They really can't seem to until it comes to a culmination where they set a trap for the hag. And the hag has her own story as well. And the hag goes into her backstory, who she is and how she got there, and what is she doing and why is she doing it. And for those reasons that every antagonist has to be just in their own mind, right? They're not just killing for killing's sake. They're doing it with purpose, and these are the rules as a writer that you have to adhere to. And so our hag has a great backstory, and she is a force to be reckoned with. Frightening, cunning, powerful, and scares the shit out of these detectives who aren't scared by much.
Yeah, and
Now,
everybody
Luca
that
Marchetti is an ex priest, and you, as well as I, we're Italian, we're Catholic. We have this history behind us. We know backstory of exorcisms, of um,
it's real stuff.
yeah, real stuff. We bring in this, we can bring this stuff to it, the stuff that we grew up with. stories that we've heard over the years, whether they be real or imaginary. To us, they're real, right? Growing up, these are real stories of exorcism, of, of people going through this type of stuff, and so all this plays into it. All this backstory plays into it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a horror. I would call it a horror thriller,
yes,
and can
yes.
totally see it as a movie.
Started off as a movie.
Ah, there you go. All right. So tell me
So
about it.
was written as a script. And I wanted a female character that was, again, menacing and kind of an evergreen kind of character, and who better than one people already know, which is Bloody Mary. Although very little has been done on Bloody Mary and her backstory, and very few people have taken advantage of this kind of lore. I think as in depth as I have, trying to bring this character to life, giving it much more than just kind of the, going into the mirror and saying Bloody Mary 3 times. It's, that is not the history of it. The history is so much more real and gruesome than that. As you know, Mary Tudor, the first Queen of England, she was the daughter of King George the Eighth. I'm sorry, Henry the Eighth. It's Henry or George? Shit, I don't know. You have to read the story to see it. But the history is there. It's real history, and she was trying to bring Protestantism, trying to get rid of Protestantism in England. She was Catholic, and so she did it by literally burning 300 plus people at the stake. So she was burning, and she got the moniker Bloody Mary. And through history, this is where Bloody Mary comes from.
Yeah,
There are also other stories.
Sunday mornings.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, history is stranger than fiction, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
reality is stranger than fiction. So that's where I pull from.
So you wrote
I
it
like the story. It's come again.
You originally wrote it as a script.
Wrote as a script. I try and make my characters real. Each of these characters with their own backstory. Ken is recently divorced, and that whole backstory ties in of why he's recently divorced, what he's dealing with. And then Luca also, who was a priest at one time, and why he left the priesthood. And it all kind of comes full circle, And then at the end, it is, hopefully there's a sequel, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
Because I think Luca Marchetti and Ken Walsh have a life after Hag.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Hag, it's available anywhere you get your books. Available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You could download on your Kindle. You could do the Audible version if you drive a lot. You can listen to it at the gym, wherever you get your books, and wherever you listen to your Audible books. If you love the genre, I highly recommend it. I'm looking forward to the film already.
Yeah, me too. Right now, digressing just a little bit, the Night Watchman 2 screenplay has been written.
Ah, okay.
And so that's kind of our punch right now, as we're trying to get moving on the Night Watchman. Night Watchman 1 had a lot of success. We had we have a lot of following from it. Every time we go to the cons and stuff, people always come up and say wonderful things about it. And so it was due time. So the Night Watchman 2 starts 8 years later.
In the works.
But it's still the same kind of.
And they can stream it. It's available now, right? The Night Watchman.
You can see that anywhere.
It's on Tubi and all the.
Yeah. Tubi, Amazon. It was on Hulu it was part of Hulu's Halloween pick for many years.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's still out there. It's still, even today. It's been 8 years, but it's still a fun film to watch. I have people I know that watch it every Halloween, as a ritual, and it's just a fun movie. It's a horror film, but it's funny.
Well, one of these days, maybe what we'll do is, because the Towncast, what we do is we rent out our local theater, and then we show classic films.
Nice.
We're always showing one at Halloween that's Halloween or scary related. So one of these times, maybe we have you up.
We'll love to.
We'll screen your film, and we'll do a little Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And I'll drag Ken along.
Yeah,
kicking and screaming.
Yeah,
That would be fun. That would be absolutely fun.
so you could check out The Night Watchman on streaming. Just Google where can I watch The Night Watchman.
Yeah.
Of course, Town Called Purgatory. If you're outside of the U.S., look it up, see where it's playing, and soon to be released in the U.S. But more
Yes.
importantly, the new novel Hag that was just released, The Legend of Bloody Mary. It's available anywhere, so I strongly recommend it. And again, I open the invitation up whenever you're up in the New York area. We can set up a
Yeah.
book signing if you want to come up, talk a little bit about your book, and we'll have you sign books for people.
That would be wonderful.
All right.
As always, a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so good
Always
to see
great seeing
you.
you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. Next time you do one of these festivals, make sure you come up here.
Yeah, I know we have some on the list. I think Scranton is probably the closest we're going to get for a little bit,
It's great.
but we have like three festivals coming up that we're
That's
going to do,
hard.
three
There's
cons.
people again, people don't understand, once you have a film, it's not just having the film. Now you have to put it out there. You have to
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, you have to generate the buzz. You've got to get people
Yeah,
interested. Then you find distribute.
yeah,
People don't understand
yeah.
that whole
It's the worst part of it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the hardest part of it. I shouldn't say the worst part. It's fun to talk about the stuff. It's just getting out in front of people. You got to constantly promote. And as you saw, the book is worth reading. It's worth a read.
Yeah,
Uh, and
100%.
and the movies are worth watching. They're definitely we pride ourselves on putting something out there that we would want to watch,
Yeah.
and that we just don't turn it on and say, oh, this is crap, because there's so much crap out there. And we do the best we can with as little as we can.
Yeah. Well, you've done great. I can't wait for The Night Watchman 2 and of course Hag when it comes out.
Thank you,
But
Flavia.
it's gonna come out, you know that.
Yes, yes, I'm fingers crossed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it. And again, open invitations whenever you're up in the area to either do screenings or have you do book signings. It's all open to you.
Thanks, Paisan. I appreciate it.
All right. All right. We'll talk soon. Let me sign off and then
Ciao, alla prossima.
I'll say goodbye. Yeah, prossimo. All right, everybody. So that's Dan DeLuca. You could look him up on IMDb, look him up on all the social platforms, and follow the movies they're doing. You could look up A Town Called Purgatory on Facebook and on Instagram, and the book Hag. He's got a lot going on. He's a Renaissance man. So I encourage you guys to follow him and keep an eye out because this is going to be a future brilliant. He's already brilliant, but you're going to see this guy a lot, and Ken Arnold, and look forward to seeing Jiggets too. So make sure that you guys sign up, follow, and leave him a nice word of encouragement because sometimes when you're an actor, director, filmmaker, screenwriter, you're kind of on an island, and it's always good to hear some praise from fans. So if you watch The Night Watchman, send him a kind note. All right. Be well, everybody.